Hi, Alex Polyak here. One of the most controversial and difficult topics in GTA games is the division of the fictional world into several universes. Why can some characters repeat themselves while others do not? What are the developers hinting at? Or maybe this is all just the player's own inventions. In this video, we will look at the official statements of the developers. We will remember how the game world is really divided. I will also show the contradictions in the writer's approach and try to draw conclusions. Let's get started. Sometimes players do not quite understand where such concepts as 2D, 3D, and HD universes came from. To understand this, I suggest you familiarize yourself with the words of the creators and publishers of GTA. I have collected several Rockstar quotes on this topic. Here they are in chronological order. In March 2008, Dan Houser, one of the founders of Rockstar Games and the writer of most of the GTA games, answered a question about GTA 4. He said,
"We imagined the world from scratch this time. We kept some of the old brands that it felt. Part of the issue is that there were so many brands. There are 400 to 500 fake brands in the game, so to start from scratch seemed stupid, and it was a nice echo from previous games."
Thus, the writer made it clear that only some minor details were carried over from the previous games to GTA 4, but it was a new world. Then, in September 2009, in response to questions from GTA fans, Rockstar Games commented on the inscriptions in GTA 4, which mentioned protagonists from the games of the 3D universe. Here is how the publisher put it.
This was a little joke for fans of the series. The GTA 3 timeline is not necessarily over, but it is a different world to GTA 4. Only the branding and certain radio personalities exist across both worlds. The reason for this was that we felt GTA 4 was a high-definition experience and required different kinds of characters. That, and the fact that most people from the previous world are dead.
This answer sounds more specific, and it more clearly defines the boundary between 3D and HD games. Let's look at the rest of the statements. In December 2011, Rockstar Games answered players again. This time, the company was directly asked about whether the universes are different and whether El Burro or Donald Love can go from the 3D world to the HD world. Rockstar responded,
El Burro is referenced as he was also referenced in GTA 1, so it felt appropriate that he should cross universes. The universes are the worlds interpreted at different definitions, 2D, 3D, and high definition. So we felt brands and radio background characters would exist in both, but three-dimensional characters would not. This is the logic behind it. So no, we don't reveal any GTA 3 characters could exist in the GTA 4 universe.
This is the most meaningful statement Rockstar has made on this topic, which explains the logic of the GTA universes. It also shows that the 2D, 3D, and HD worlds are not a fantasy of the players. Another statement was made by Dan Houser in November 2012, a year before the release of GTA 5.
No one before GTA 4 will be in it. The move to HD created a schism in this fictional universe, rendering CJ, Tony, and Co. as mythical characters from a bygone era.
Thus, Rockstar Games has been letting players know for several years that the GTA worlds are separate. However, there is one interesting trend here. At first, it was said only about brands. Then, it was announced about radio hosts, and even later, about background characters. So how does all this work in GTA games? We know for sure that brands are often repeated. For example, this is clearly seen through clothing brands from the 3D world, which appeared in the HD world. The same applies to radio hosts, who can be heard in games of the 3D era, and then in the HD world. The most obvious example is Laszlo Jones. This guy is in many GTA games, but if earlier we could only hear about him, then in GTA 5 he appeared physically. And here we touched on a point that is fundamentally important for Rockstar. This is the factor of physical presence of characters. Let me remind you that in one of the official answers it was said about three-dimensional characters that cannot be present in two universes at once. But if this is a background character that has not previously appeared physically, then the scriptwriters can add him to another universe. This explains why in the HD world we can meet Willie from the Love Fist group, or for example, Chris Formage from the Epsilon program. Such characters were background characters in the 3D universe, and what is very important, they have never appeared visually before. Simply put, in GTA games, you will not find a single character that would be physically present in two or more universes at once. This is really well thought out. Judging by the official statements, the reason is that Rockstar takes into account the large technical difference between 2D, 3D, and HD formats. By the way, Abi Vermeij, former technical director of Rockstar North, also wrote about this. Although Mr. Vermeij is not involved in creating the storylines and lore of GTA, he knows very well that the transition to a new technological level caused the division of universes. There is also another factor that prompted the scriptwriters to refuse to reuse characters, especially the main characters. Here is a quote from the lead scriptwriter at the end of 2012.
If we were as a situation where we were still making games about Claude or Tommy Vercetti in the same exact worlds where we just updated the map and hadn't reimagined large chunks of the game every time, we'd be incredibly bored.
And here is Dan Houser in another interview answered a question about the potential appearance of Niko Bellic in GTA 5. These words can also be applied to the topic of GTA universes.
You know, each character fits the universe and the era in which we're developing a GTA. It's true that it's sad to think that we won't see these heroes again, but bringing them back just for the sake of seeing them again doesn't really make sense. These protagonists exist because they had something to say, and if you finish the game, you know that he's achieved his goals and that his adventure is over.
Now we have familiarized ourselves with the official statements, learned what can be repeated in several universes at once, and found out the reasons for such actions of the developers. And before I tell you what problems there are, let's briefly discuss which universes the different GTA games belong to. Some may find this too obvious, but for some players, it is a confusing point that needs to be clarified. As Rockstar Games confirmed, each new universe began with the transition of GTA to a new technical level. The first games, the ones with a top-down view, belonged to the 2D universe. These were the first steps of the developers, early sketches of the concept, according to which the whole series of games was subsequently developed. Therefore, everything looked very primitive there, and in these old 2D games there is not much connection either with each other or with the games of the following universes. In general, all this was and remains in the 20th century. But in the 21st century, in 2001, GTA went full 3D. This was a technical achievement and it launched a new universe where the developers rethought the world of the previous games. Thus, completely new Liberty City, Vice City, and San Andreas were created, as well as a new Claude. As another echo from the past, El Burro and a couple of brands were reused. 2 Manhunt games were also associated with this universe. In all aspects from graphics to storyline, this 3D world looks more developed and holistic compared to the 2D world, but it still remains quite arcadey and cartoonish. It was a glorious and rich era, but it was also over when Rockstar released GTA 4 in 2008 on an engine called Rage. Thus, another stage of evolution took place, and GTA received fundamentally new graphics, physics, detail, slower gameplay, more cinematic and more serious plots, more deeply written characters. Simply put, the famous series of games moved to a high-quality format and became more realistic, and its fictional world was again rethought by the creators. As Dan Houser said, the world was invented anew. It became the HD universe, which is still developing, and the continuation of which is expected in GTA 6. In this updated world, there are many echoes from the 3D era, which is clearly visible thanks to the brands and minor characters. But this universe exists as if independently of the previous one. At the same time, it is obvious that GTA games from one universe are connected with each other and can intersect because they are in the same world. To show this very clearly, I made a diagram where you can see the physical appearance of the same characters in different GTA games. GTA Chinatown Wars and GTA Advance require special explanation as they are very different graphically and their characters have almost no overlap with other games from their world. In these cases, Rockstar made an exception by releasing a game that technically does not correspond to the current universe of that time, but the game still became part of the current universe. Thus, GTA Advance ended up in the 3D world using Liberty City and a couple of characters from GTA 3. And GTA Chinatown Wars ended up in the HD world, using Liberty from GTA 4 and having a number of brands and groups from this universe. In addition, the protagonist and other characters from this game are listed in the police database in GTA 4. So we have looked at the entire structure of these virtual worlds, but there are some other issues that are much more difficult to understand. It may seem that the GTA universes work on a clear principle, where each new universe is created anew and at the same time can contain some details from past worlds. If you look at GTA 4, episodes from Liberty City, Chinatown Wars, you will see that the developers really followed this principle. Only brands and a few things related to the radio were transferred from the 3D world, but otherwise, we got a new world with new characters and factions. And the fact that instead of the Leone, Forelli, and Sindaco mafia families from the 3D world, there are completely different clans with a different history in the HD universe means that many stories from the 3D world did not happen in the HD world. Only some Easter eggs were made for players, reminiscent of the game's predecessors and hinting that old characters and events remained in the past world. But then GTA 5 came along, which has a different approach. Instead of creating new factions, Rockstar decided to bring back the gangs from GTA San Andreas. Characters from the 3D games were also physically embodied. And in addition, the scriptwriters added hints that some events from the past universe may have happened in the HD world. For example, when answering Jimmy's question, Franklin says that Grove Street is not a myth, but an old story that has remained in the past.
Are you Grove Street? Is Grove Street like a myth?
Man, that's some old school shit. Hell no, it's not a myth. But times have changed, homie. I'm families. I guess like they was. But things is different now, homie. Ain't like the early 90s no more. So no, you ain't living out some suburban gangbanging fantasy shit with me.
There are several such references in the game, and they do not look like Easter eggs, but rather like the game's lore, and also like the writers decided to talk to the players. But Rockstar is being careful, so the game never mentions details. We know nothing about CJ or any other key character from GTA San Andreas. Therefore, the boundaries of the universes are not formally violated, because the writers did not give an answer whether everything happened as in the 3D world and whether CJ existed with other characters. So it is possible that completely different people participated in the past events in the HD universe. And it is also possible that CJ and the other guys could exist, living a completely different life, not similar to the plot of the 3D games. In general, due to the omission, there is room for theories. But one way or another, if you analyze the behavior of the writers and various hints, I get the impression that Rockstar initially strictly divided the 3D and HD worlds. This was well demonstrated in GTA 4, and it is also evident from the official statements of the time. However, later the writers softened their approach and made GTA 5 more connected to the old games, especially San Andreas. Perhaps this was done in order not to upset or confuse players who loved the old stories and old protagonists. From the second trailer of GTA 6, we can learn that the scriptwriters will most likely continue this approach in the new game. Rockstar clearly showed a man named Phil selling weapons, which is obviously a reference to Phil Cassidy from the 3D world. However, in the new game, it will be a different Phil, who has both hands in place and is not yet old enough. From all this, we can conclude that the HD universe is a strange mixture in which there is no place for many events from the 3D world, but at the same time there are exceptions where continuity is preserved, especially in relation to San Andreas and Vice City. Let's summarize this small analysis. Brands are used quite freely in more than one universe. The situation with characters is more complicated because only some of them are added to new universes by developers. Usually this concerns celebrities such as movie actors, musicians, radio presenters, and others. But we do not know what happened to the protagonists and other key characters from past worlds. And we also do not know whether they were in the new universe at all. There are also various Easter eggs referring to old protagonists, but we must remember that this is just a joke for GTA fans. We must also take into account the rule of physical presence in only one of the universes. So if a character could be seen in the old world, then in the new world he will only appear as a voice or a mention. And if he physically appears again, then this is just a very intentional coincidence, made as a reference for GTA fans. And if the character was previously only heard or mentioned, then in the new universe he has the opportunity to appear physically and be more than just a reference. As for the plot events, the situation is also complicated here. The scriptwriters, it seems, were not consistent enough, and therefore some old stories were at least in some form allowed in the new universe, and some stories, on the contrary, were completely rejected. Therefore, players need to carefully monitor the game content, find important details, and be careful in interpreting them. I'm actually a little frustrated that the writers aren't being consistent enough with the different GTA universes. I'd like to see a more coherent picture of the game world, rather than a chaotic collection of content that is both related and unrelated to the older games. However, I'm really interested in trying to figure this out, so I might make another video on the topic eventually. If you liked this video, press like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, write your opinion in the comments on this topic and I will be happy to read it. Thanks for watching. See you soon.